Hi everyone, it's me, Carol from Practical Mystic. As always, so glad you joined me. So who among us isn't seeking to know a little bit more about who we are and what's our purpose and what are we here to learn? Questions that the tarot, the metaphysical community, seems to enlighten us and others through tarot, through astrology, through numerology. And I'd like to throw in the mix something we don't see a lot of, but certainly self-awareness and self-knowledge is profound in the Enneagram. And the Enneagram basically is a diagram of the 9 personality types, as well as its opposite, which is why I find it so important. To me, it reveals the shadow in many ways, that part of me that isn't out there, that other people don't identify with. And of course, that was founded by George Gertrude. But what I'm going to share with you on this video is really the results of a course in handwriting analysis, also known as graphology. I decided years ago to learn about what my handwriting could reveal and teach me about myself. So one of the lessons that I learned had to do with our overall kind of karmic issues, karmic lessons that we are going to be able to detect by looking at our handwriting. Specifically, this method that she taught was very specific. It isn't one that's found in a lot of handwriting analysis, graphology books, but it determined the karmic lesson, unhealed parts of us through the direction of our handwriting. So what I'm going to teach you here today is by examples of the 4 types of ways that our handwriting is. But what's more important is go ahead and pause this video and find something where you have written, maybe your tarot journal, maybe a letter to someone, where you have done your natural everyday penmanship without lines on the paper. So when you find that, that's what we're going to be looking at and revealing those karmic lessons. So do that now. We'll give you a few minutes and then come right back. Okay. Now there is, let me move these things. I'm going to give you a sheet that really basically talks about how to evaluate your handwriting. And we're going to get very, very specific. And hopefully, if you did not find anything like a journal or a letter or even an envelope that you are addressing to gauge it, then please go ahead and write 3 or 4 lines very quickly and have those in front of you. All right, so how to evaluate your handwriting. First of all, let's get down to some basics. Your handwriting has movement and fluctuates constantly. That's a given. But what will basically remain the same is your, what this instructor called directional pressure. And that is what indicates a type of karmic lesson. Your personal directional pressure, and I will be giving you examples of that through books, will either be one of the 4 directions which then affect the structure and shape of the letters. I will be discussing that a little bit more in detail. The directional movement occurs from, of course, the 4 directions: right, left, top, and bottom. So step 1, as you are looking at your handwriting sample, look at your handwriting to see if you can detect its rhythm, its style, its fluidity, its ease, how it flows on the paper, and then we will look at the direction. This is what we want to look at. If it slants to the right, let me go ahead and give you an example here in my books. All right, this writing here slants to the right. Let me see if we can, there we go, get that centered. What that means is that the air, what she taught us is that the air that would blow into your handwriting, how it would affect the letters if the letters were movable. And of course, the air coming in from the right side is going to make your penmanship, your writing slant to the right. And you can see that. It just slants to the right. We'll discuss what that means. Now, the second way that your handwriting can go is it slants to the left, which is up here, the first example. The air then, of course, is coming in from the right and blowing the letters to the left. And then the next example is you really have vertical, also known as centered writing, up and down, but the air is coming from above. Now, this is a little harder to see. And what you're going to look at here is that you have more of a emphasis on the letters being, let's say, pressed down because of the force of the air, but you certainly see where the bottom are direct, even darkened in the Y at the end of these words. But the majority of the letters seem to be affected, somewhat pressured to be smaller due to the air. And then the fourth and last is also neutral, but this time it is dense, and that is when the air is coming up from the bottom. When it comes up from the bottom, you see that the handwriting has more of an emphasis on the top part of the loops. They seem to be higher above the lines. And we call this neutral dense because the handwriting is a bit more darker, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So we have what we call normal pressure of writing, we have light pressure of writing, and then we have dark writing, which is a great example right here. So take the time now to determine, of the 4, is your slant to the right, your slant to the left. The writing is centered, meaning vertical, but the upper letters are smaller than the lower ones. Again, the air making that pressure down. And then the writing, the next and last is D. The writing is centered or vertical with the letters larger and emphasizing the upper half and less of the lower. We are going to know what it means to have pressure that is light, dark, thin. So let's talk about that for now. The pressure and lightness can really go 3 ways. When it is like normal writing, when you're really not adding any pressure and you're not really, and it's not light, it's just normal, then that is usually an indication that things are balanced and you are at a normal emotional state. If it is lighter, then the indications indicate that you are somewhat fragile, have lost some stamina, aren't feeling vivacious, maybe weakened physically as well as emotionally, saddened, grieving. Then you have what we call the darker. And that can mean two things. Number one, it can mean vitality and strength, determination on the positive end. Or it can mean also, depending on the stroke of the letters, the slant of the letters, how they're on the line, off the line, it can mean aggression, anger, frustration. Someone who is crying and writing a letter sometimes is upset of what has occurred and will demonstrate that in his or her writing. Okay, now, what I'm about to show you also will determine the information that I'm going to be giving you on the indications of karmic, the personality traits, how it is mirrored, and what to do to heal it. That also is tempered, colored by what we call, most graphologists call them a meter, a Graphology Meter. And I have two books here that were great at showing that, and I wanted to bring that to your awareness. Okay, so, and I'm sure if you go online, you could probably find, this is called the Graphimeter. So you have the vertical or the centered. That's going to be easy to determine. But when the air is coming in from the right to the left, and we have the slant going to the left, then there's going to be where it is reclined and then very reclined. When you have the air coming in from the left to the right, and some people write very much to the right, then there is different determinations of that angle that indicate more of a incline, very inclined, and acutely inclined. So what we're going to talk about, really you want to kind of get an idea how much your slants are, but if it's vertical, then that's very simple. Now here, this is a great book, Handwriting Analysis Made Easy, a quick a guide to character and human behavior by John Marley. This is the one that I took some examples from. Here is his guide, and his is called a Slant Punctuation. He looks at it a little different, again, more of a psychological bend, and you can see here where the vertical is quite independent. He looks at over here to the left as reserve and cautious, and to the right, movement and adaptability. Here we have an extreme, we have a modified, and the same on the other side. So you can see the importance of understanding what your slant is like. Okay, friends, with your writing in front of you, let's go ahead and talk about the meanings. Here we go. And as you can see, what I've done is I've broken them down, the best from my notes that I took, oh my goodness, years and years ago, and the way that I have used this to help myself and, of course, clients. All right, the meaning. When the slant is going to the right, okay, the air pressure, of course, is coming in from the left side. So there is a feminine energy, and remember that. And what it indicates, what you may identify with, are the following. One who is very conscious of doing good and will work hard to achieve success. Some are overachievers or workaholics. The key is to their intent as well as what motivates them. I cannot emphasize that enough as the key. What you're doing, question why. What is my intent? What is my intention? And what has motivated me to do this? Okay, and here are some examples to answer that question that I wanted to put in. Is it to seek acceptance or approval from others? To prove to themselves they are good enough? Okay, karmic indicators, and what I mean by that is if there is some karma to pay, then it entails these indicators. Much of the insecurities stem from a painful, unresolved past, such as neglect and abandonment. Now, this could be in this lifetime, or this could be in prior lifetimes that are now surfacing. Their current lifestyle is to assure these wounds will not be inflicted again, and it is an overly attentive to ensure. So I apologize. Their current lifestyle is to assure these wounds will not be inflicted again, and these are ways that they use. They're overly attentive, martyrdom, and codependent. Mirrors, meaning when these things occur, they are mirrors of what you have here in, let's say, the unconscious or the unresolved past issues. You have doubts, suspicions when someone expresses their love or affection towards you. May resist committing or quickly commit to relationships that are unhealthy because you want to belong, because you want to be loved. You find it difficult to say no. You please others more than yourself, and either hold their emotional pain in or end up harboring resentment, anger, and rage. Or they act out in emotional fits and rages. This is sometimes called passive-aggressive behaviors. So how do we heal? Become self-aware. Question your motives. Learn to value who you are right now. Learning to use more reasoning than you're feeling. Again, a feminine energy. And do this until balance comes, where balance is needed and is achieved. It doesn't mean you always have to use your intellect, your reasoning, but just until you find yourself honoring yourself, being able to say no, don't overextend yourself. That's when you go back to your natural feeling, intuitive mode. Most importantly, self-love and relief, stuck pain, and emotions through therapy, physical body work, and EFT. EFT is emotional freedom techniques. That's when you tap on the body. I have used it. It works very, very well. Yes, you guessed it. I slant to the right. Okay, slanting to the left. That's when the air is pushing from the right side. So that is masculine energy, one who feels tension coming from the outside world. This pressure, slanting the letters to the left, limits them from expressing themselves in some way. There could also be a sense of not trusting themselves or others, making them quick to act and react in fear of missing out or being left out. Having and being secure motivates them. They are self-sufficient, independent, and usually make good use of what they invest in. They are intellectuals and they highly regard intelligence. They don't always trust their feelings. Okay, karmic indicators. Insecurities stem from negative emotional experience and insufficient material nurturing during infancy or childhood. So they may have had detached, cold, indifference, upbringing, caregivers, and they end up sometimes with excessive bravados. Nothing bothers me. That doesn't hurt me. Who cares if this person likes me or not? I don't need anyone or anything. So there seems to be a difficulty in admitting their emotional needs or even asking for assistance. Again, they become very, very independent and self-sufficient. All right, the mirror. For the men, because of the left slant can be both for the male and the female. The mirror for the men is having shallow surface type relationships with other men. Now, I'm not saying that they are gay in any way. I'm just saying the relationships men have with other men is more of a surface. It isn't deep. There isn't that uniting bond. It's usually based on competitive and manliness. Now, for women, there is an attraction to sports that require physical strength and a competitive edge, and they seek executive and career-oriented position. Emphasis is placed on outer appearance. That's for both. Accomplishments and self-reliance. That's for both. They also shy away from forming strong bonds. They like a private lifestyle. That's what they prefer. And there's a resistance to admit their idiosyncrasies. Okay? Now, this may stem from a strong mistrust for people. Thus, this belief behavior gives them a false sense of protection, this pushing away of people. Don't get too close to me. I won't get too close to you. This is what's going to protect me. So what's the healing for these individuals who tend to slant to the left? Now remember, this can apply to you in minimal ways depending on how that slant is. If it's excessive, then this can apply to you more strongly. Healing is letting down your protective shell, asking for the love you so desire, courage to express your needs over the inherent fears of being maybe rejected or ridiculed. Giving love and affection openly and sincerely with no strings attached. Release the fear of having to be the best, to excel and perform in order to gain the respect of others. Healing can begin when they feel praised and worthiness from within versus what they are told or given as a reward from others. Begin to trust your emotions more than your mind, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and taking some steps at expressing your fears of inferiority. Okay, the third one is centered, also vertical writing, but the air is pushing down from above. So it is a neutral energy. It has both light indications of the masculine and the feminine internalized. So one who is seeking a philosophy to live by. They are often easy to influence as their minds tend to vacillate in their search for the all-inclusive doctrine. Many go through a period in their life where they doubt their own abilities and inner knowledge. Some are perpetual students going from one seminar to another. The vacillating mind has a difficult time concentrating and staying the course. Now, this can be detected again by how much pressure, small the letters are, also the lightness or the darkness of the letters, the spacing between, so there are many variables. The air from above indicates influence from the mind and spirit, thus the need to seek intellectual and spiritual pursuits. They have excellent abilities to see both sides of any situation, willingness to share all their experiences. Imagination is well suited for writing, entertaining, and public speaking. Also, if there's an over-exaggeration of the capital letters and the big letters with long lines, a vertical line, that can indicate where there's some imbalances. So what are the karmic indicators for the individual who has the centered vertical lines with smaller letters due to the pushing of the air coming from above? The karmic indicators are a sense of vulnerability within, affecting how they view their capabilities of responding to life. They're uncertain. They approach and form relationships cautiously. They feel the need to look and dress as well as possible, yet shy away from being noticed by others. That vacillating, do I want to be aggressive? Do I want to be receptive? What energy do I want to use? Sometimes that just dissipates all of their energy, or they use one that is so uncomfortable that it imbalances the other side, the other energy. Here are some mirrors. When one gives their power, beliefs, and values over to a guru, a spiritual leader, or an organization, or a religion. When the self fears to express its ownness, who you are, your originality, when you're trying to change in order to fit in. Being part of a group or cult which disempowers its members and enforces strict obedience to rules and doctrines. All right, healing for these individuals is to become an independent thinker, to trust your own abilities and connection to spirit. Aware that by taking the time to examine your own values and spirituality, you will find your authenticity. Believe that the power you saw in others is always available to you. Involve yourself in activities that help you focus and concentrate. All right, friends, thanks for hanging in there. We are now coming to the last, which is the centered writing, vertical writing, with the air pushing from underneath, from below. And it is neutral, but it is dense energy. Usually there is a darkness in the writing. Sometimes it's because of their physical energy or their determination. All right, so it's one who is earthy and enjoys the pleasures and sensations life has to offer. Desires are difficult to control. Setting boundaries limits their sense of freedom. And pressure exerting in, and that's shown by the pressure exerted in their writing, as I said earlier. They enjoy collecting items and may have difficulty letting go of their possessions. Setting boundaries is also challenging in this respect as well. Overdoing or underdoing seem to cause them the most stress. Many have the talent of transforming something old into something new. Interest in renovation, decorating abilities, eye for color and shape, talented with their hands in numerous ways. Some are craftsmen, hairdressers, of course, barbers, surgeons, sculptors, designers, veterinarians, horticulturists. Now, change and variety work central in their is central in their personalities. They need that. They get bored easily. Their mental abilities seem to be activated from, this is so interesting, something that is already in existence, and in their mind's eye see how it can be transformed or renewal. And this is very popular today, where we are seeing people upcycle vintage items, making use of paper, things that we throw away, from trash to treasures. We see this ability. Karmic indicators have difficulty with self-discipline. Body may crave sensation and excitements that may eventually become unhealthy and addictive. This earthy possibility there to have addictions. And addictions can be quite minimal, or they can be destructive as well. You know, we could have an addiction to collecting books. Here I am, where we have an addiction in drug abuse or alcohol, substance abuse. Okay. Difficulties living in the present and finding contentment, satisfaction for long periods of time. Love of the material things of the world become increasingly important. That's where you have to watch. And then finally, mirrors. Well, becoming easily bored and disinterested with partners, resist committing oneself, enjoys moving and becoming known as a rolling stone. Living style may cause problems with money, becoming overwhelmed with what one has accumulated, restlessness within, lack of peace of mind, an increasing lack of joy and contentment. So what can we do to heal? Harness your vast amount of physical energy in only a few areas of interest. Heal yourself by giving the care and attention your body needs. And in parentheses, many of you have laying on of hands. You are already natural healers. So massage, body work is something that you like to do. Chiropractors. So you already have the healing hands. Believing that more is not always better. Learning that your spiritual abundance is where lasting contentment will be found. All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining me. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section or connect with me through my email. Blessings, take care, bye for now.